Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's kitchen time. A quick easy mount, probably, and a fiddly one. So we'll see what we can do. I'm going to get the mount out of the way first. This is the little Dendrobium aberrans, which at the moment is bone dry. The idea being that this moss should just flake off. If it proves to be difficult, I'll wet it. I'd rather work with dry if I can. There's a good reason for that. It will eventually get sprayed with hydrogen peroxide, and if it's soaking wet, that doesn't really do its job as well as it ought to. We've got a shed load of old, tired, dead-looking roots in the centre. We do have a new growth, so there's potential for new roots to come soon, if not already started. This is quite long strand moss. This is the good stuff. That long strand stuff you need if you're doing the neofinicias. A lot of these roots are very papery, so they're not good. But they're there. It's a youngish plant. I won't say young plant, but there's a lot of that's going to come off. We'll see what we've got left. I don't think there'll be much. I've worked with a lot worse. Right, papery stuff. Easy bit in the centre. Get them out of the way first. They're the really old, tired ones. There's no point in keeping those. And we'll see what we've got left. Not a lot. Around here, that one's okay. One so far. One. One's gone. Unfortunately, that was the longest one as well. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's probably okay. So we haven't got much left to work with, but we should get new roots in the area of the new growth soon. Not too distant future. Right, I'm just going to give that a go with the hydrogen peroxide. I'll be back. Always worth doing the hydrogen peroxide. I've just seen two undetermined tiny little creepy crawlies in amongst that moss, so there was something living in there. Doesn't mean it's harmful, but it's better if it's not there, let's put it that way. Right, simple mount this time. Relatively simple mount. Small piece of bark, don't need a lot. It's not going to grow big, and if it gets too big for that mount, it can just be plonked on top of another one without even unmounting it. I've only ever done that once. I keep saying it's an option, but by the time I need to change a mount, it's normally because the mount's broken down, which with cork bark is incredibly unusual, but with this is not cork bark, this is some other bark, I can't remember what that is. Could be oak, but that had a Talumnia on it for a while, not anymore. Come on, grab hold. Thank you. Right, now we've got a potential for growth on this one is in two directions, probably. You've got several largish pseudobulbs on this side and a new growth, so that's obviously leading in that direction. But at some point it's led off in the opposite direction as well, to the what will be the left of where my fingers are. So potentially there's a potential for new growth there and more here. So that's sort of either side. So I'm going to plonk it about in the middle. And as I said, if it creeps round to the sides, it's not the end of the world. It's the sort of dendrobium that just has a single base, doesn't really crawl away from it, it stays put and just gets a larger base as it grows. So I'm just going to put one turn round there, hold that with my fingers, and then it's not going to get a lot of moss. And although it's got a new growth there, I wouldn't say it was in full flood, actively growing. So I'm just going to put some moss on there, away from the base, keep the base of the plant dry, and then I'm going to tuck a little bit of live moss on top of that and see if it will take, just because it looks prettier. Let's see if some will come off. Let's get some green on the top there. It might grow, and if it does, it will start to take over the mount. And if it doesn't, then it will be on the surface, not on the roots. Right, just hold the moss in place. And I've now got an option to let this plant get completely dry quite quickly if I choose to, which is the problem I had with my Latorias in the past, is them not being able to. Now it's got no ties behind it at the moment, so it's capable of flopping forward. So I need to grab hold of something round the back of the plant. I think it's going to have to be the two larger canes, sorry. I'm in Cattleya frame of mind at the moment. So I'm not going to tie them tight, I'm just going to loop over the top just to hold them like that. That's plenty tight enough, it's just to hold the plant in place. And then I suppose I could put one right through the middle and see how firm it is with that one turn. Yeah, that's more than enough, more than enough. So just come around the base of the plant again and tie off. Nice easy one. I've got wet hands, which is not ideal. Fishing line and wet hands just do not go together. It sticks to you. Right. There we go, that's that one done. Quick easy one. And as I said, the problem I've had with the Latorias in the past is them not being able to dry anywhere quick enough in the colder months. So once they're mounted, I have that ability, because even in the cooler weather you're looking at totally dry by the end of the second day, sometimes the first day, depending on how much sun we get. So that's that little one done. Right, now we'll have some fun. What to do with the little Psychopsis. That moss smells quite dank. And looking at the colour of the moss around the base, that is degrading badly. These don't like their roots being disturbed. But you have to sort of stop and think, what is disturbed? Is taking old moss off and replacing it with some more moss a major disturbance? Now, taking it out of moss and putting it in bark is, or yanking it off of a mount is, or taking it out of a clay pot where it's attached is disturbance. But I'm not happy to leave this moss there, I'm afraid, so I'm taking it off. It's the wrong time of year to be doing this. But what happens to this root system if this moss really is going down now and I wait till the spring? We'll have probably taken quite a lot of the roots out by then. Psychopsis are another one of those that they're a contradiction. They don't like their roots being disturbed, allegedly, and they don't like stale media. The two often don't go together, I'm afraid. You just have to work with it. But the moss is quite loose, and yeah, it smells, it's going. I think what's happened on here is it's had some fresh moss sort of put round the base of the plant, and the stuff around the top's just been left. So it's coming out quite easy, and it's leaving behind a nice root system with active growing tips. Now for doing one of these, that couldn't be a better time. But rather than poking around, these roots are quite brittle, what to do? I want to give this a good spray with hydrogen peroxide, which while the moss is on there won't work very well. And if I run it under the tap to get the moss off, I've then got a wet plant, which means the hydrogen peroxide won't work very well. So I'm just going to keep teasing and see how much I can get out, and then we'll spray it with whatever moss is left, and then we'll rinse it. This is the bit I'm worried about, this older part in the middle, and there are some dead roots in that area, only a few, but again I would rather they were off than left there. That's about as much as I'm going to get out. Right, I'm going to do the hydrogen peroxide now, because with a hole in the leaf there is potential for a little slug or a snail lurking in there somewhere, so I want to make sure that's gone. It, he, she or it, they, whatever. And I'm getting all the sheaths off while I'm at it, places for things to hide. Sheaths can stay wet and encourage rotting, yeah, they're just dead bits of tissue basically. It's better off if the pseudobulbs are clean and tidy. There's some bits I can't really get at in the centre of the plant without damaging it. That's not bad. Right, I'm going to give that a spray, then give it a rinse, and then I'll be back and we'll make a decision what we're going to do with the little dear. I'll be back. Well, I've always said the easiest way to take charge of a root system, if you don't want it to stay wet, is put it on a mount. So decision made. But we need to do some trimming first. We do have some older tired roots that could do with coming off. Not too many, but some. Where's my camera? I'll do this a bit closer. Everybody seemed to like getting their eyes poked out with the scissors. Oh, you're a dodgy one, aren't you? Right in there. Where's that black one? Where's the base of that black one? There he is. Gotcha. So I'm looking for badly discoloured ones that are soggy. Nearly all emanating from the same part of the plant basically, so as is often the case, oldest roots go first, replaced by nice new ones, hopefully. That's the bit we all hope for, is the nice new ones. Oh, some of these are right in the middle, hence the pointy scissors, so you can get in there and get at them. I'm taking that one right off because it's just the end of it that's dead. And that is about it. That's all it's going to get. Roots are capable of branching, so it can branch out. Whenever you see a branching root system, it does pay to go careful. And some of those roots that look a bit brown and tired sometimes aren't dead. They're just old, possibly stained from the media. Especially if moss has had a chance to get old. That will stain the roots. Right, that'll do. That's just a root that managed to bend itself but still active. Yep, that'll do. So that's not bad at all. Doesn't take much off at all. So I'm pleased I now have a good root system, and quite honestly, out of the Psychopsis I've ever owned, that's the best root system I've ever had. So that's good. And we'll put it on a mount. Now traditionally you'd put a mount up that way, Yeah, but the leaves are going to cover the top of the mount, which is the sawn off bit. So it'll actually look nicer with the more raggedy edge around the base of the plant. So we'll go upside down this time. Something like that. Right, let's get this done. I am going to have an incredibly lazy afternoon. I didn't have a good time yesterday with my talk. Not the talk itself, that went fine, but the actual event just didn't go well. I had lousy traffic getting there. I left early because I was expecting that, so that was anticipated. Just got to put up with queuing up 3 or 4 times to get through a set of lights and big long queues at roundabouts. Till I got out the other side of Bournemouth, then I was okay. Got there early and they were late, so I ended up hanging around in flipping freezing cold for some time, waiting to get in. And as it turned out, if they'd let me know, I could have got in and got set up before they got there, because the room we were in, or the hall we were in, was actually empty and open. So if I'd been told, I could have been set up ready. As it was, I had to rush like hell to get set up and get all the plants in, and it was a fair walk from where the car could get and where I had to be, and I got no help at all. Anyway, we did the talk, nice coffee and biscuits. I was well looked after, and then at the end, thank you very much, nice big round of applause, and they all went home and left me there on my own to pack everything up and cart it all out to the car again. So I got away quite late, and I left at whatever it was, 5:45 in the evening, which was a bit earlier than I needed to, but you got to make allowances. I hate being late, even though they were. It seemed to matter to them. Yeah, so I didn't get home till nearly 11 o'clock, and that's like a good hour past my bedtime. So yeah, I didn't enjoy the evening as much as I have done with previous talks, and I've ended up being quite tired today, so I'm going to have a lazy afternoon. Probably go to sleep in the chair. The easy way to do that is put the telly on and put some daytime TV on. That's enough to send anybody to sleep. Right, I know roughly where the plant's going to go, so no messing about. Quite a wide mount. I might be able to get one turn vertical to help hold the plant back against the mount, but yeah, when you're looking at a 6-inch mount, every turn is 12 inches, isn't it? So I'm going to take off quite a long piece, got quite a lot of roots to hold on. I'm feeling quite tired today. I'm lucky this time of year. I should be watering some of my mounts today. They're on a 2-set cycle at the moment. There's one set that need to get watered every time I water the mounts, and then there's another set, which are the winter resters, that are now going every other time, if you see what I mean. So when I water the mounts now, sometimes I'm only doing about 2/3 of them, and the rest don't need doing. So that lets the workload down a bit, but they all, my 2/3 set ought to have been watered today, but with the low temperatures, and this time of year, I can get away with missing a day or even 2 and not worry. Just let it go, basically. Right, so plant relatively near the top, so that the roots have got the whole of the mount to go on. Now I've got one of the new growths coming up to the front and one going out to the side, so it can head off in effectively 2 directions if it chooses to do so. I'll just put one round to hold those roots in place while I get some moss on. Right, now in its normal environment, these would grow on mossy branches, so they would have their roots in stuff. There wouldn't be many bare roots showing. And because it's going on a mount, I can put quite a bit of moss on and not worry about the roots staying wet, because it's a mount. They'll just dry. So again, not round the base of the plant, but quite close, so that when the moss is wet it doesn't soak up into the base of the plant, but any new roots that form under the new growths have got something to get into. So most of them are covered now, and then we'll do our usual trick and put some live stuff over the top. I'm going to have to put that down for a minute because this moss needs teasing. It's not long coming from the garden. I suspect it's full of bugs, but not the sort of bugs that are going to harm the orchids. Tend to get little spiders in the surface of the moss. Not spider mites, just little spiders. They don't do any harm to anything. So they can stay. They probably won't live long in the grow room anyway. Right, so we'll have some of this out around the edge. So hopefully actually start to grow. My loop's coming a bit loose here. So don't have to worry about covering all the old moss. If it's going to grow, it will grow, you know, and it will spread. So it's a manky bit there, we don't want that. If we're going to do it, it's to look pretty, so we'll work with that. Right, let's see if we can get this thing to stay there along with its moss. Close to the base first turn. Grab hold of as much moss as possible. Come round a bit lower, grab some more moss, and then what will be the lowest turn to grab the rest of the moss. Right, that's the roots and the moss grabbed hold of. Now what's the plant up to? Slightly wobbly. Right. I'm going to go up through the middle, which means I need a base point to start from. So I'm going to go back to where my loop started, where my V is, which is normally where I tie off, but it gives me a midpoint to pull against. Let's see if I can get the thing through the V. Gotcha. Come on, don't catch up on everything. Told you I'm tired, don't mess me about. Right, see, now I've got a place in the middle to go over the top. And I'm just going to go over the top and find a place to come down through the middle. And that needs to be looked at carefully so that we don't cut into anything. We just go between things. So we need to go under that one. Where does that one go? We need to go round that one, down through there. Lovely. Pull it slightly tight, check the plant. Gotcha. Lovely job. So that is it. Now we go back round to where we were before. And we've got somewhere to tie against as soon as I can find my end. So all the knots are in the middle, all holding each other together. That's my theory. I'm just going to wind that round once so that I'm not tying into thin air. That'll do. And I don't need a tag for that. It's the only one. Right, so there we go. The new growth coming out to the side, which if it does push new roots out, are going to be incredibly close to the mount. They'll get straight down in the moss and attach. And then this one over here, the roots will have a little bit of work to do, if we get any. And then all the other bulbs are nicely separated. I've just got a little bit of moss, a little bit too close to the to the base. Just teasing that away now, and the plant's in place. Make sure the moss is pressed down well, especially live stuff. If it's not in contact with anything, it'll probably die. So it's better if it's all tucked in and squashed down, and then it'll get going. So there we go, a mounted Psychopsis. Now I know there are others that grow these mounted successfully, so I'm not venturing out into the unknown here. It has been done. I've seen some successful mounted Psychopsis, and we'll see how it goes. But that to me was the best way of taking control of a root system. If I'd left it in the moss it was in, which was breaking down, it could have been a bit of a disaster by the time we got to spring, so that wasn't the best of ideas. If I changed the moss and put it back in a pot, at this time of year with these temperatures, it's going to stay wet. And wet and cold, not so good. Now when these are growing well and in the warmth, they're actually drinkers. They do like to stay quite moist, but not in the cold. So we'll see how that one does. We will keep our eye on it. I don't believe it suffered cold getting to me. It wouldn't have been cold long enough and not at low enough temperatures to do cell damage, which is the real problem, is when something gets down towards freezing and it's over a period of time, you get the cell structure damage and there's no recovery from that. So we'll see how we go. At worst, the cold could have got at the two new growths, but time will tell with those quite soon. So we'll see how we go. So that's those two done, and that's me done for the day. Obviously that's a sequence of two videos. One's going to go up what is today, which will be the unboxing, and then this one, fiddling about in the kitchen, can go up tomorrow. That way tomorrow I can have a rest from filming, catch up on a bit of watering, and then I really do have to crack on with that Orchid Society magazine, or I'm going to get clobbered for that. If you take a responsibility on for a society, you're obliged. You've got to get on with it. So I need to do that, do my bit, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.